La Liga returned last night, and of course, it was with that Sevilla derby. Sevilla coming away with a 2-0 home victory over their arch-rivals Real Betis, and a deserved one at that. We're going to be going over all of the action, giving a good review of the game today, plenty of talking points, and not just from the football, a few other things I want to be discussing about this game. So without any further ado, let's get started. And what I mean by that is I want to talk about some other things that weren't actually to do with the game, essentially. So, the broadcasting package, basically. I was watching on BN Sports, I'm sure a lot of you guys were, it's well renowned for showing almost all La Liga games, which is really, really great. The broadcasting package was a little bit interesting. I think there's a few things we need to talk about, just in general, the return of football. The crowd noise, I thought, was a really welcomed addition. It was, nicely done. It was very well done. I thought it gave the game some depth, some background noise, and I thought that made it feel a lot more like a normal game, which was really, really great. The CGI crowd, whatever you want to call that in the background, though, I'm not entirely a fan of that. For me, that was just a really, really weird way of doing it in the background. I don't think it was very well done. The graphics they had in like the first tier of seats, I found that quite weird, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree. It took quite a lot away from the pitch, in my opinion, and it just didn't feel normal. So for me, I would keep the crowd noise, but I just leave the empty stadium, honestly. It looks way cleaner and way more slick for me. But let's get in with the review now, guys. Let's start with the lineup. Sevilla was basically as we expected. Oliver Torres was starting ahead of Banega, and Munir came in ahead of Sousa. We mentioned that Sousa might not start, but in the end, he couldn't make it. He only came off the bench, so Munir did get the nod there. Betis actually made a few changes from the lineup we did. Maybe the wrong changes. Maybe they should have gone with the predicted lineup I gave them. They went with Sidney and then also Fidao as a sub over Mandy at centre-back, which I found a little surprising. They also picked Aleñá, Teo and Borja Iglesias over the likes of Guardado, Joaquin and Loren Moron. So, of course, quite a lot of changes there from the lineups we predicted, and maybe the wrong ones, judging by the result, guys. So, interesting decisions there from underperforming coach Adobe, and maybe ones that did end up coming back to bite Betis. If we start up with the match action now, though, guys, Sevilla, I thought, started like the stronger team, as you'd expect. They're higher up in the table, they're a lot more confident right now. Betis, they look very, very undone, almost all over the pitch right now, and Sevilla, right throughout the game for me, were dominant. There wasn't that much rhythm in the game. It wasn't an enthralling match, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It wasn't the sort of game you couldn't miss. But Sevilla, they did indeed largely dominate, guys. They were much more stable all over the pitch. I thought they had a far clearer game plan in almost all areas, if I'm being honest. They executed it really comfortably, and that got them the 3 points in the end. You look at the first half, De Jong, Morin, Reguilon, and also Ocampos, they were all highly involved in getting first half chances for Sevilla. And at the end of the day, guys, they had the better of the action right throughout the game. Betis essentially did nothing for me. I do worry about what Rubi's game plan actually is, to be honest. There was nothing going on for Betis. The players, they had interesting and odd roles for me. There wasn't much width. They're not introducing Joaquin into the starting lineup. I thought was a really interesting decision. I thought I would have started him. Same as for a few other players that they left out on the bench there, guys. Loren Moron, maybe he would have offered more than Borja Iglesias for me. Again, the Panda, not the same player at Betis. And especially for a derby, guys, I thought it was a real shame from Betis, and it was a bit disappointing, honestly, from my point of view. Pretty poor performance from Betis, and the Derby and the players have a lot of answering to do. The second half, though, guys, started pretty similarly to the first in the fact that Sevilla were dominating, but this time they were able to get their 2 goals, and deserved goals too. The first was a penalty. For me, really, really harsh decision. It was just Mateo Lahoz, he wanted to make his stamp on this game, and he got it. Ball came into the box, a bit of contact there from Bartra, but for me, if you're giving penalties for that, you have to give about 8, 9 penalties a game, and I don't like when penalties get given for that, honestly. Way too soft in my opinion. Just a centre-back going up to win the ball, but he gives the penalty. He was always going to give a penalty, Lahoz, and Sevilla converted. Ocampos, he gets himself the goal, and a deserved goal for him too, and also a deserved goal for Sevilla as a whole. Not long after, guys, Ocampos was indeed the man who got a brilliant assist to set up Fernando for a header to make it 2-0, around about 65th minute now, so the game pretty much set in stone. It was finished by this point. So yeah, Ocampos with a golden assist there. Lovely flick from a corner. Fernando heads it into the corner. Again, Betis, poor defending, or the man of the match on the day for me, Ocampos, gives Sevilla the 3 points. And, Betis, they were a little better late on. They did at least attack with some rhythm when the subs came on. And the likes of Lainez for me and Joaquin were key in that. If they had started, it could have been a different game. A bit more width, a bit more intensity, driving at the Sevilla fullbacks, actually getting the ball in the box. And they missed that massively last night, Betis. Overall, though, guys, I would say it was kind of what we expected. Maybe a little more from Betis. My prediction was 3-1 to Sevilla. Quite a good bet. It ended up being 2-0 to the home side, and that was really what we were to expect. If I was to bet on that, you would have gone about a 2-goal win for Sevilla, and that's in the end what we predicted and what it was. So a typical Lopetegui side really for me. Very controlled, really comfortable, they had the set in stone game plan, they weren't really under too much pressure, and at the end of the day, they got their 3 points. But for me, I worry for Betis, and I worry with Rubi as their coach. I mean, for me, he has to go, surely. Sevilla, yes, they're in 3rd spot, and with that victory, they consolidate that really nicely. You know, they're pushing up now. They're not too far behind the likes of Barcelona and Madrid, which is really good for them. They do create a bit of a gap between them and some of the other sides in the chasing pack. You know, Rubi, when he first came into Betis, I thought that's a good addition. He can make them perform just a little better in the final third, more consistent, and even a little better defensively. But for me, either he isn't performing or the players aren't following his instructions, and either way, something's going wrong there at Betis. They're massively underperforming for a side that has so much quality in it. You know, you've got Fekir, you've got Mandy, you've got Bartra, Emerson, Moreno at left back's player who I really like. You've got, you know, Guido Rodriguez in there, a new signing, young players like Edgar in there. You know, Loren Moron and Iglesias up front, 2 really good strikers for a La Liga side. And I mean, you know, the list goes on. With Betis, they've got so much talent, but again, last night, terribly poor out there. And at the end of the day, Sevilla massively deserve the victory, and they will be taking that one home with them, guys. You know, as I said, consolidate the 3rd spot. Betis, poor, nothing going on in the final third. You know, Rubi said that we were not putting enough pressure in the final third. We didn't get into the right zones, but he needs to change something then, because, you know, obviously something's not going on. I think maybe a 4-3-3 or something like that with wide wingers who can drive the defenders is always a good bet to go for. But either way, Betis, they have to change something, and Rubi, he's got, you know, 10 games left now to save his job, to really prove that Betis are a side who can do something. And well, for Sevilla, guys, they just got to keep marching on now. You know, if honestly, they're in a really good position, because for me, they look like a really solid side, clear game plan, and almost the polar opposite to Betis right now, in my opinion. You know, very, very controlled. It's not the most exhilarating of football to watch from Sevilla, I'm not going to lie, but I do worry when Barcelona go there on next Friday. That's going to be an interesting game, really, because we've got to show that we can go and compete with sides such as Sevilla. So that's going to be a tough game, as it always is going to the Sanchez Pizjuan. And Sevilla, with the way they play, it's always going to be tough. So that's where this video is going to come to an end, guys. Like I said, the broadcasting for me was good. A few things could change, like the CGI crowd, whatever you want to call that background. For me, that has to go. But all in all, guys, a good win for Sevilla. You know, that's what you'd expect. Betis, massively underwhelming, which is a real shame. Not the most gripping of games, guys. Not the game I'd say you would have had to watch that, but at the end of the day, it's kind of what we expected. Sevilla much more controlled, much the better side, and they end up getting the 3 points, guys. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.